Did you know that tracking points, sins, or calories often leads to weight gain and can create disordered eating behaviors? So if you are trying to lose weight, you're gonna need some way of tracking your food. And different diets use different ways. And in this video, I'm gonna delve into 3 common diet questions I get. So number 1, I feel like if I mess up even a little, and I'm not perfect on my diet, all my progress goes out the window. Is there a way to lose weight without feeling like I have to be a perfect diet robot all the time? Number 2, I sometimes just need a break and end up in uncontrollable binges. How do I stop this? And number 3, is there a way to lose weight without tracking food? I'm so stressed out tracking every little thing, it makes me want to give up. But first, why does everyone love and get attached to tracking things so precisely when they're trying to lose weight so much? From my experience in the past with my own dieting and now working with clients, the easiest way to quickly lose weight in the short term is to have food rules. So food rules are simply the instructions that your diet gives you to make you eat less. As simple as that. So some examples: eat this many points per day, eat this many calories, restrict yourself to this many sins if you're doing the Slimming World diet. It could be weigh all your food. It could be eat at this time and not this time if you're doing intermittent fasting. It could be cut out all carbs if you're doing the keto diet, and so on. So these are what we call the food rules, basically what you follow to reduce your calories and help you lose weight. And the big positive that I see that attracts a lot of people to this method of dieting is it's simple. There are simple instructions, simple rules to follow, which don't require much thinking. And the reason I think that a lot of people are attracted to rules-based dieting is that it's initially very easy to understand the rules and implement, so they can get their weight loss off to a quick start without having to think too much. So just to reiterate, like count this many points and you will lose weight. Cut out carbs and you will lose weight. Only eat at this time and you will lose weight. It's very simple rules to follow. And this leads me on to question 1, where you feel like you need to be perfect all the time and it's very easy to mess up. And this is because rules-based dieting is very black and white. It creates the perfectionism mindset where you're either totally on the diet following the rules, or you're totally off the diet not following the rules at all. There's nothing in between. And this creates that black and white mindset where there's this imaginary line, and if you cross it, you go from totally on to totally off the diet. And this line is only based on the rules you have for the diet. So you're pushed from being totally perfect to doing nothing at all, only based on the rules that the diet has set out. And I've talked about Emma in the past, where she felt like she was being really good and following her diet really perfectly. And then something small happened in her day and she felt like she ate a little bit more than the diet had told her to. So it pushes her over this line into the totally perfect I'm on the diet to I'm not doing anything at all. And the problem with that is your brain then starts to negotiate with you saying, well, you're off the diet now, you may as well just make the most of it and have all the food you want, and let's start again tomorrow or on Monday or whatever it might be. So the big problem here with food rules and tracking is that it's very easy to be pushed from one side, totally on the diet, and then swing all the way to off the diet. And over, let's say, a year, if you're this inconsistent with your diet, you're just not gonna get long-term results. So I hope that makes sense. Food rules create perfectionism and black and white thinking, where they're either totally on the diet or totally off the diet. So what do we need instead? The simple solution to this is change it from this black and white thinking to a more gray mindset where you're always doing something towards your health and fitness goals, whatever happens in your day. And there's no thin line where you're being pushed from totally on to totally off anymore, because you're always doing something. And obviously that's the idea and mindset around it. So how do we actually do that? And I'll talk about that a little later in the video. I don't want to touch now on this big thing of your relationship with food and how you measure and track what you're eating. And I love analogies. So imagine that you have a piece of wood and it's about 2 meters long and about 30 centimeters a foot wide. You place it on the floor. and your task is to stand on one end and walk to the other side. What do? You step onto it, you look towards the other side, and you walk across. There, done. Very easy. Your focus was on the other side, you thought about the task, you did it. Now, if I take that piece of wood, that exact same piece of wood, and raised it up 100 meters between two buildings and ask you to do the same task, would you be able to do it? There's nothing changed. It's the same piece of wood. The only thing that's changed is the height from the ground, and then also, because of that, the perceived risk. Now, what that does to your brain is it makes you start to look out for problems. So when you reduce the margins of possible errors you can make, as in trying to be perfect, have this thin line, your brain starts looking out for problems. So with this piece of wood, you then step on it, and your brain is not looking towards the other side to complete the task. It's thinking, oh, this is risky. What if I fall off? What if I die? This is going to be harder. How am I going to do it? What if this? What if that? Da, 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 da. And so you either don't move, or you do move, but very tentatively, and you're not going to be focused on the other side. You're focusing on wobbling and falling off. The same happens when you have perfectionism, precision in your diet. Some minor or minute or precision targets you have to reach. Your brain is like, oh, have I met that yet? What if someone gives me some food? What if I go over? What if I go under? What can I eat now? What can I eat later? Da, 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 da. All these things in your brain, which creates this massive food chatter, food noise, whatever you'd like to call it, and background stress. Tell me this doesn't happen to you. So this perfectionism creates a lot of background stress, overwhelm, and exhaustion. So we already have busy lives, but the way you are doing your dieting is adding into the stress. And this leads me on to question 2. I sometimes feel like I need a break, and then I have uncontrollable binges. How do I stop this? One of the big reasons you need a break and you need this release through emotional eating is that you stress yourself out so much with this counting, weighing, and being precise over everything around your diet. And again, how do we solve this? It comes back to, as I said before, going away from this black and white mindset and turning into the gray mindset, where you don't have to be precise. You don't have to think so much. There's not so many decisions to make in your day around food. And when you do this, everything changes. So again, I'll cover this later on in the video, so watch on. The next thing I want to touch on is what I like to call outsourcing your diet thinking. So what I mean by that is the diet you're following is some rules created by someone else, or the app that you're using to track and log your food. So with things like points and calories, and even sins from the Slimming World diet, you're eating what you've been told to eat based on the calculation, either the points, the calories, the sins, whatever it might be. And that means that, number one, you're losing touch with your thought process around food, but also your hunger process around food. A huge thing that used to affect me personally was that I used to log all my food in the MyFitnessPal app. And what that meant is, number one, the amount of calories set out for my day was decided by the calculation. So I was eating based on what I was told to eat by the app. And so number one, that made me eat a certain amount of calories based on something outside me. It wasn't based on what I needed that day or what my body was asking me. So I didn't need to listen to hunger signals. I didn't need to think about the food. And what that also meant that I would just eat whenever I wanted to, because I knew that I had a certain amount of calories in the day to eat. So, oh, I feel like something to eat, I'll log it in the app, I'll eat it. And then at the end of the day, if I hit that number, it's fine. And then short term, that works because those calories were around what I needed. But what it meant was that I wasn't listening to my hunger signals. I was more emotionally eating. And what that also meant was that I didn't learn how to make decisions or think about food. The app was doing it all for me. And so when life was unpredictable, or it threw curveballs at me, or anything that was not normal, I didn't know what to do. And so some examples, when you go out for a meal, you might not know exactly what's in the food, or someone gives you a cake to eat, or it's Christmas, or you're on holiday. You think, well, I don't know what's in this food, I can't log it, so I just won't at all. So it comes back to this black and white thinking of, well, I can't do the diet. It's this thin line of, well, I haven't followed it then, so I'm totally off the diet now. And then your brain starts to negotiate with you. Oh, you're off the diet, you may as well make the most of it until tomorrow, or you're back from your holiday, or whatever it might be. And the other huge thing with this is that because you've taught yourself not to listen to your body and your hunger signals, then when you are off the diet, you're more uncontrollable with your eating, because you're used to eating just when your brain is saying, oh, it's nice to have something. And you're not listening to those hunger signals anymore because you've disattached from them. And this is a really big problem. So going back to the question about uncontrollable binges, yes, we can work on emotional eating by itself, but the first thing to do is turn that tap off to it. If you are unknowingly stressing yourself out, overwhelming yourself by the way that you're dieting, by being so precise that all this food noise and food chatter is just so consuming, then we need to deal with this first. And again, it comes back to letting go of this control that a lot of people feel they need to have and switching to the gray mindset of being good enough. And just a note on control, there's this idea with a lot of things that the more precise and the more control over something you have, the better results you get. And sometimes that works. In a work project, that might be okay because you're doing it for a short amount of time. But with diet, with the way you eat, you do this for the rest of your life. You can't be so precise and still be able to maintain this day in, day out for the rest of your life. It's like being chased. Imagine you're being chased. So someone is running behind you. You have to always be on the run, putting energy into moving and checking behind you the whole time. Now, if you switch yourself to the chaser, the person running after the person, then you can stop and have a break. You can slow down. You're not looking behind you all the time. You're looking forward. So this switch in mindset around how energy works and your thinking process, it does make such a difference. And so question number 3, is there a way to lose weight without having to track everything? And so to answer this, just a reminder of how weight loss works. To lose weight, you need to eat less than your body needs. You need to be in a calorie deficit. And so you don't have to follow these popular diet methods to do that. So counting points, calories, sins, weighing food, intermittent fasting, keto, cutting out carbs. You don't need to do those things. Yes, those things are easy to understand, but there are better ways for long-term results. And if you'd like to learn how to do that, I'd love to teach you. So you can watch this video now.